Yo, what's good, YouTube? Today we're reacting to the most fraudulent characters in anime. So without further ado, let's get straight into it, baby. Yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. I've been waiting to watch this video, bro. Another banger by Olama-sama. Yes sir, right under there. Yes sir. Another banger by Olama-sama. Yo, how long you been gone for? Cause it's been a while. It's been 3 months, bro. You been gone for 3 months, gang. What's going on, bro? It's summer. It's summer, bro. I know you in school right now, but it's summer, bro. Come on. Shake.
When choosing to watch a series or a movie, one will often think of the genre they wish to consume. One of the most popular genres is thriller, no engine. The thriller genre can be characterized by suspense and high stakes. Now, there exist different subgenres of thriller, but the one we'll be focusing on in this video is the psychological thriller. The mental aspects of characters are a clear emphasis throughout the runtime, and these series will often feature a genius as one of the main characters.
Don't mind this. This looks like a fucking science test tube right now. I usually drink just water, but I had to wash my Brita. So I'm using juice that we had to buy for an IRL stream and shit, and I put it in this, and it looks like a test tube. I know this was just a random ass sidebar, but I'm just saying, don't mind this.
Characters are often portrayed as highly intelligent people who are always 3 steps ahead with trillions of backup plans, etc., etc. And I'm here to say, all of that is some cap. A lot of these geniuses got some of the most fake high IQ moves, and I'm tired of people giving them praise for it. And I just so conveniently happened to rewatch Death Note recently. So in today's video, we're gonna be looking at
all right. Let's see what you got to say, gang.
How smart they really are.
Let's see what you got to say.
Already, the 2 characters we're looking at today are
Light
and L. 2 characters were often regarded as some of, if not the smartest in all of anime. But to really gauge the intelligence of these characters, we need to really define what intelligence is. And our good old friend Webster says that intelligence is defined as the skilled use of reason. As we all know, Death Note has many scenes to show these characters' intellect. I want to see if these guys, more specifically a certain EM Wave, really have a highly skilled use of reasoning. After all, some people will be calling these 2 the smartest characters in anime, so they should be able to prove it. And let me get ahead of this before it gets out of hand. I'm not here to try and make my own plan or critique the show. I'm just trying to show how overrated some of these big brains are in this series, because as you watch,
I wouldn't say they're the smartest niggas. I ain't gonna lie. I think Lelouch is smarter than Light and L. But Lelouch from Code Geass, but
video, you will see that it is borderline impossible to write a character significantly smarter than yourself. Also, just gonna put this here, you can ignore it for now. Episode 1 begins with us meeting Ryuk, the Shinigami, and Light Yagami, a high school student. Both of these guys are disinterested and are fed up with the world around them. That's until Ryuk drops a notebook in the human realm for Light Yagami to pick up. This notebook is what the series revolves around, and it's called the Death Note. And let's pause right here. Let's first understand that this thing is broken.
We're trying to get their name written on the Death Note. Put in the comment if you're trying to get your name written down. I write it down for you. I have a Death Note, actually. I'll write it down for you. I'm joking. I actually don't even know where that Death Note went. I think it's it might be in my parents' house. I might have left it in my parents' house.
Beyond belief, the Death Note allows the user to murk.
I do have a skit. I do have a skit on the first channel called Gamers Death Note. That's what I bought it for.
As long as they know their name and their face. We don't really need to go into the specifics, but the Death Note can control the cause of death, the time of death, and even the events leading up to the death. In short, Light potentially has access to an ability that allows him to murk people without actually having to put in the dirty work of murking someone. However, Light thinks that the notebook sounds ridiculous at first glance, which is the proper response. I don't think anyone would believe that something called the Death Note would actually work on people. So as any logical person does, he ditches the notebook and goes about his day. Oh, my bad. He actually takes the notebook and goes to test it out and see if it works. Testing if the notebook really works is a very important concept that we need to keep in mind. Later in the episode, Ryuk heads over to the human world to meet Light, and sorry for another pause, but why on earth do you have so many names written? Light believes that he's the only one who can pass justice onto those who commit crime or hurt others, and after cleansing the world of all these criminals, he will become a god.
I don't even want to say good intentions. Like, okay, it's okay intentions because he wants to take out all the criminals of the world, but it's like at that point he was playing God, and he got a God complex, bro. He was playing God. You can't take, like, you yourself cannot be taking people's lives right now, no matter how evil they are and stuff, you feel me? That's not your That's not your call to make.
Out of the new world. That in itself is already crazy. But what's even worse is that he's deliberately
Not
making
you
the
alone,
pattern,
at least.
which is essentially a kick me sign
Not
to
you
law
alone.
enforcement. Light's arrogance is one of his defining character traits, and it's the exact reason why his character can be not that smart or just straight up.
Not that I like if Light was, you know, I don't even want to say too much, bro. I was gonna say if Light was like a friend of mine, I don't even like. Would I stop him? I don't like. At the same time, it's like, okay, it's none of my business or whatever, because he's just like, you know, taking out criminals or whatever. But at the same time, like, I would talk to him. I would talk to him and be like, yo, like, you know, you kind of getting a guy. Actually, no, I'm not talking to that nigga. Never mind, bro. He go off me. What the fuck am I talking about, bro? Fuck that. No, that conversation is not even happening, bro. He gonna off me. Fuck that.
Similar treatment, and you'll
Fuck out of here, bro. Fuck that. That shit is none of my business,
in
bro.
this episode, we see a lot of characters being introduced that will become pivotal to the story later. Characters such as
And then he start offing like innocent cops and shit that's trying to figure him out and shit, bro.
Matsuda and Soichiro Yagami, who is Light's father,
Is
are
innocent
introduced in this
detectives.
episode. And yes, Light's father is a cop. A lot of officials in different countries are freaking out about Kira, and Kira is what the public calls Light because they don't know who he is, and they decide to call him the world's best detective, L, to solve the Kira case. Later in the episode, we also get to see one of the more unnecessary plans in the series. Y'all can tell me that I'm dragging it, but I don't care. This whole contraption is just doing too much. This was only put in here to make him look smarter than he actually is. Do you really need to burn the entire notebook along with the rest of your house? If anyone were to see this notebook, they wouldn't even take it seriously, just like everyone else in the series did at first glance. I will say though, a strong counter argument to that is that if someone touches the notebook, they'll start seeing Ryu, which is another major problem. But let's be real, if you are under enough suspicion that the feds are looking through your room, then you're already cooked. And wouldn't a fire starting from your desk be very suspicious? You know what? I don't care anymore. There are other concerning things to talk about, like the dumb moves that Light is about to make. Later in the episode, a man named
this one, dude, like, why would he think that that's the real L? Why would he think that the real L would televise himself? Like dead ass, bro. L had him. I remember this. For L was like, yeah. And by the way, this was only televised through Japan. So now I know that you're in Japan, nigga. Now I know that you're in this country. Like, he hoed himself, bro. He literally just shortened the range of potential people that it could have been, bro. Right here. If he didn't do this, then I feel like he would, bro. I feel like he might have been fine. Like, I mean, like, he would have been like. A lot of things wouldn't have happened, is what I'm trying to say. A lot of things would have been prevented
Taylor, who
if he
claims
didn't
to
do
be
this.
L, calls out Kira on national television, and Light reacts very, very calmly.
I am justice. Protect the innocent and those who fear evil. I'm the one who will become the god of
Yeah, this was dumb.
everyone desires.
How is no one hearing this? And
This
how
was
do you get
dumb.
a god complex so soon? It's
Yeah,
only
and
been
he
an
got a
episode
god
and half, and
complex,
he's
yeah.
already tweaking. Light writes L's name in the book, and surprise, surprise, it was a
It
trap.
was a-
This
yeah, it
brings
was a
me to one of
trap.
the points I'll be coming back to over and over again. Light is way too dang arrogant. He gets
Yes,
so
he's
cocky
very
that he
angry.
makes mistakes with the power that should prevent them. L reveals he was able to track down Kira's location to Japan because they broadcasted that message in the Kanto region. He also yaps more and more about the whole thing being an experiment, which I guess you can get that much from his first body. Nevertheless, with this encounter between Light and L, their war officially begins. I think this move by L warrants a point, but this trap working relies heavily on Light messing up. Episode 3 starts off with the investigation team looking at the times of death of victims.
And you would think at that point he would stop, but he
Most of
doesn't.
them occurring between 8 p.m. and 12 a.m. They also note that the times have more variance on
continue.
weekdays and holidays.
Is a student. Yep.
Or it could just be someone free from 8 to 12. Basically,
Yeah,
anyone 9 to
that's
5
true. That's true. Could be anyone just free from 8 to 12.
free from 8 to 12, but also having weekends and holidays off. L also considers the type of victims to make this theory, but I don't know. If you ask me, I think L peeked at the script a little bit. Also, I'm not too sure how L knows that Light has a god complex, but I guess you can figure that out by the fact that he murked the first person to speak against it. Since Light's dad is a cop, Light has access to police information, so he can easily adjust his patterns to evade suspicion, and he makes his patterns obvious so that L can figure out Kira has ties to the police. So to clarify, a lot of these things L figures out is because Light wants him to figure them out. Light suspects that this will cause tension between the police and L, and that the police will want to find L themselves. That's kind of optimistic, but you got it. The episode ends with a bunch of the task force quitting and someone following Light. This someone is an FBI agent. So 3 episodes in, and the FBI is already on your trail. Oh yeah, Light gets offered the Shinigami eyes by Ryu. These eyes allow him to see the name and lifespan of anyone he sees. However, he'd have to give up half of his remaining lifespan to gain them. Episode 4 begins with Light really pushing the limits of the Death Note, Note and figuring out how specific he can make the cause of death. He learns that the Death Note can manipulate someone up until their death as long as it's not impossible. Light uses this new info to throw off L and the police and to learn the name of the guy following him. Light's plan at its core involved ridding himself of suspicion from the FBI agent, learning his name, then using his new abilities to murk any and all FBI agents in Japan. Light would go on a date with a girl in this class, and like clockwork, the FBI agent will follow him. But then the bus gets hijacked by this guy, and he proceeds to hold everyone there hostage. Due to the situation, the FBI agent had to reveal himself and his identity to Light to obtain his trust, revealing his name to be Ray Pember. Light then drops a piece of the Death Note that the criminal touches, allowing him to see Ryu. He freaks out and suddenly dies of a car accident. Light was able to control all of this. After seeing this episode, the Death Note for me is inching closer and closer to mind control. Although the plan is very good, it also hinges on Ray Pember dropping all suspicion and giving you his real identity. But hey, it worked. And if you thought the bus jacking was impressive, episode 5 is where Light truly shows off how strong.
Yeah, the plan. I that's understandable. He's pretty much saying like, cause like at the end of the day, Olama-sama is just trying to say that we're overestimating and overhyping Light, Yagami, and L. His plan really sat on the potential on the FBI agent giving him his ID. If the FBI agent doesn't give him the ID, then the plan does not fucking work. Like, you feel me? And shit, so
he catches Ray Pember lacking and holds.
But I mean, you would think he would, since, you feel me, like, you would think he would, because the joint is getting hijacked and shit. So you would think that would happen, right? So
Light forces him to write his boss's name on the top, and
because he was following Light, and it was right. Actually, nah. I feel like any FBI agent, I feel like that might have been a dumb move from the FBI agent, because if he's under suspicion, then that's something that you shouldn't do. You feel me? Like, even though he doesn't know the circumstances of how he ends up killing them, still, it's pretty fucking dumb, actually, now that I think about it.
Write the rest of the investigators in Japan on the paper as well. After doing this, Light also finishes off Ray Pember. In case you don't know what just happened, Light made Ray Pember use a page of the Death Note to murk all of the FBI agents in Japan, and he covered the page as well to make sure Ray didn't actually touch the paper. Now, this was a very clever way of getting rid of the FBI agents in Japan, but I think we can all say that if we were in Light's shoes, we'd be doing similar things. Holding people hostage or throwing off detectives seems like something anyone would do if they were trying to avoid the police. Also, a bit of a sidebar that will be important for the next 2 episodes is that Ray Pember's girlfriend Naomi was suspecting Light, or at least someone on the bus, to be Kira. That means it's episode 5 and we already got people having reasonable suspicion for you being Kira. News of the FBI deaths spread around the police, thinning out the number of cops on the investigation. The remaining cops are invited by L to his hotel room, and L reveals himself for the first time. L lays out all of the guidelines for the task force and continues laying out information gathered from the investigation. The most important thing that L takes away from the FBI agents being murdered is that Kira has to be one of the people who were a suspect. And the theory L has does make sense given Kira's actions lined up with the FBI investigation. The strange deaths in the prison and the FBI's deaths in the short time frame were enough for L to figure out what Kira had been doing. The episode switches back to Light as he thinks about all of his moves up until that point. And for some reason, this guy thinks that the police don't know that Kira can kill through other means, which it's kind of crazy that they don't know that already. I know it's a bit difficult for me to be objective in this case because I already know what's happened, but y'all seen Kira control the actions of someone up until their death. It's safe to say that he could probably do other things with the ability. Light decides to help his good old pops out by giving him a fresh pair of clothes. During his trip, he happens to meet Naomi. Yeah, remember her? She was able to jump to the conclusion that Kira could have been on the bus that day and that he also could murk people without heart attacks. Shoot, she was already suspicious of the bus jacking from the beginning, so none of this is really that shocking. Let's just say that Light is extremely lucky that he ran into her. Moreover, she begins to explain her whole theory to this guy who can very well be Kira. I mean, Light does live in the area, and also Ray wasn't even supposed to show his identity, so I guess he was just being extra risky on this day. Anyways, most of episode 7 is Light trying to murk Naomi because when he tried it the first time, he realized that she used an alias. It's very evident that Naomi needs to go in order for the series to have any more episodes. She knows way too much. We can really see how desperate Light is getting as he starts doing the most basic things to try and get her to stay. But then, just when it looks bleak for Light, Naomi says,
"It's because you remind me of Elle."
What kind of Bryant to Shaq lob is this? This is the freest lie of Light's career. Couldn't have made it any easier for him, to be honest. All he had to do was promise Naomi that she'd get to work on the investigation, and it's done. Light gets Naomi's real name, and well, we can guess.
Oh my god, yeah, this part, I was like, dude, it's like, cause this part, bro, he was really trying to get that name out of her, bro. I don't know why she trusted him. She said, cause you remind me of Elle. I'm like, bro, girl, you was smart up until this moment. She was so smart up until this moment, bro. why are you giving some other person your identification? Like,
And can
but yeah, like I said, bro, Light was just making bad decisions. Like, yes, he was trying to take out people that was getting too close to the truth, but you just killing innocent people at this point. You feel me? I'm telling you, bro, he started to have a god complex by like the 3rd episode, like literally.
I just say the Death
No,
Note is so
second
broken.
episode.
He was able to laugh in this woman's face because her fate was sealed. It's like getting emoted on before you get killed in the game. This also brings me to another one of my points. Light is low-key carry. We all know that Light without the Death Note is still a top student, a good liar, and can make good plans. We also know that Light wouldn't be able to make most of these plans if it weren't for how overpowered the notebook is conceptually. Both can be true at the same time. Elle finds out about Naomi's disappearance and decides to narrow down the investigation to the 2 families that Ray Pember was following. And as we know, one of the families was the Yagami household. Elle's plan is to install cameras in the 2 houses to monitor the family's activity. While watching the Yagami household, both Elle and Soichiro notice Light is hiding something.
For a 17-year-old kid, I wouldn't say this kind of behavior is particularly abnormal. When I was his age, I did strange things too.
That's not weird to y'all? No? Just me? Okay. Something that should be noted is the fact that Light took other precautions besides the trap he made with the Death Note. Light rigged the door to alert him whether someone was in his room or not, which seems really smart on paper, but if you grew up with siblings, you probably had to do similar stuff to make sure you knew if someone was in your room or not. Realizing he's probably being watched, Light leaves the house so he can figure out a way to learn of all the cameras' whereabouts. Since Ryuk has an Apple problem, Light uses this to force Ryuk to find all the cameras in the house. This was actually really smart because Ryuk doesn't help at all. At this point, Light has to act accordingly and make sure he isn't suspicious on camera. He even goes as far as to taunt Elle on camera. He goes back to his room and we see the infamous scene.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
Someone serious? Oh my gosh. Light wants to throw Elle off his tracks by murking criminals whose names he should not have access to, but to be honest, knowing Elle, he would keep it suspicious regardless. By this point, there are way too many things that line up with someone in those 2 households being Kira. And as expected, Elle suggests that Kira could have been committing murders inconspicuously while on camera. He still decides to remove the cameras though. Light is clearly Elle's prime suspect, and he's not wrong to think that. A lot of characters who seem too perfect are always the ones you suspect the most. By this point, Elle and Light come to the realization that both of them have to meet each other in person, but I'm sure something like that will probably take a really long time to achieve. Oh, that was fast. During their first encounter, Elle starts pressing Light with a bunch of questions and he reveals, I'm out. Ignoring the plenty of memes that come from this scene, this
to see if his facial expression would change or anything like that. Yo, Elle was ballsy as fuck when he did this shit. He was ballsy as fuck, bro. Like, no cap. Dead ass.
Elle starts pressing Light with a bunch of questions and he reveals, I'm out.
Because if I heard, I'm out, like some people are doing this or something like that, they don't, some people are just staying quiet. You feel me? Like,
ignoring the plenty of memes that come from this scene, this move was actually really smart by Elle. This is one of the few galaxy brain moments and almost a checkmate scenario. If Elle is telling the truth and Light murks him, they know that Light is Kira. If he's lying and Light murks him, you get a repeat of episode 2 while also learning that Light is Kira. And if Light is somehow not Kira, the investigators get another person to help in their investigation. There's also the fact that Elle introduced himself as having the same name as a famous celebrity. Therefore, even if Light tries something, he might imagine the face of the celebrity and murk him by accident. However, the reason why this move is almost a checkmate is because Light has literal otherworldly forces on his side. But Light don't got time to think of that, because when he gets home, he starts tweaking.
It turns out he's not really Elle. That would be like announcing to the real Elle that I am Kira.
The next episode begins with these 2 playing tennis, and honestly, this whole thing showed me that these 2 are crazy overthinkers. The 2 go to get coffee afterwards, and I really gotta give it to Light. He is not budging.
That too, bro. That too. And the thing is, Elle wasn't even like his true name. You feel me? And even if he did, you know, find out this person's name and write it down, he doesn't know. You feel me? It might be another fake. It might be another dupe out. So.
And Elle keeps on trying to bait him.
Death Note is a W series. Season 2, it's kind of ass though. I ain't gonna lie. But season 1 though.
The RC world.
Oh wait, how many episodes of Death Note was there? I haven't watched Death Note in years.
Deals with Light and Elle are not exactly.
How many episodes of Death Note was there? How many episodes of Death Note? 37. Yeah, like I said, season 1 was chilling, but season 2 on the other hand, season 2 was just buns, bro.
However, but as their talk begins to heat up and Light gets a request from L to join the Kira investigation, the two learn that Light's dad had a heart attack. And part of me wants to say that this was luck, but it makes sense that it happened. This guy was getting worked like an ox. This unfortunate event allows Light to verify that L is actually L, and Light becomes a part of the investigation. Hold on. Before the video goes any further, if you're enjoying the video so far and you're new, you might as well subscribe. Anyways,
I'm not new. I'm already subscribed. I've been waiting for your next video for 3 months.
Kira goes on the attack and starts broadcasting a series of tapes to the public talking about how he wants to create a new world. But for some bizarre reason, we don't get any long monologue from Light yapping about how this is a part of his grand plan. Light is also doing some very uncharacteristic things like murdering clearly innocent people. Shoot, he even went as far as to hold people hostage who didn't even do anything. To top it all off, he somehow murks one of the investigators without even knowing their name. I don't even know what type of plan Light could have made to pull that off. So Ichiro puts a stop to the airing of the rest of the tapes by driving through the TV broadcasting building. Doing this fresh out the hospital is crazy too. The remaining tapes basically said that Kira wanted the police and L to reveal their faces to make sure Kira could murk them whenever he needed to do so. And cue the gasp. Another Kira. This Kira is named Misa Amane, and she has the Shinigami eyes. Translation, she's even more overpowered than Light. Both Light, and more importantly L, guess that there is a second Kira as well. It's interesting that L doesn't allow Light to know that there's a second Kira, because I feel like anyone can theorize that. There are probably people in the public who guess that there's a second Kira, considering the drastic differences between their actions. From here on out, we have a key point for the series. Light now has an ally with the same abilities as him. Light is also the closest he's ever been to L, so theoretically, the tides are shifting in Light's favor. Oh yeah, Light also was asked to review the second Kira video, and he comes to the same conclusion as L, that there are two Kiras. The task force decides to bait the second Kira with a fabricated message from the original Kira. Misa responds to the message, but is mad federal. Talking about Shinigami eyes and Shinigamis in a public message? Bro, she's mad lucky that they decided to pass this off as code for something else, which by this point, they gotta start looking into Kira using supernatural means. Near the end of the episode... Alright, no. Near the end of the episode, we learn from Rem, the Shinigami following Misa, how a Shinigami dies. Remember, Rem tells Misa not to tell anyone about this. To make it quick, if a Shinigami attempts to extend the lifespan of a human, they will die. Misa sends in a journal with several entries that she wants to be aired, but it's apparent that there are hidden messages like showing notebooks in Aoyama. Both L and Light pick up on this, and L suggests sending people to each of these locations no matter what. Light and Matsuda get sent to Aoyama, and Light decides to go with the big group to make sure other Shinigami are unable to see who Ryuka is following. Too bad it's rendered ineffective because the Shinigami eyes cannot see the lifespan of other Death Note owners. This means Misa just has to see whose lifespan she can't see, and she finds Kira. Prior to listening to the second Kira's message, nothing was really suspicious about any of the locations that the task force visited. However, the second Kira reveals that they found the first Kira, which could potentially correspond to when the task force members visited Aoyama. The police send a message to the second Kira, and Misa takes this opportunity to introduce herself to Light. And finally, the two Kiras meet, with Light being introduced to Rem. Misa is introduced to the family as Light's girlfriend, and the two start yapping it up in Light's room. To skip all the jabber, Misa is willing to be used by Light as long as she provides use to him. She'll basically do anything for him besides let him see other girls. This gives Light a new tool that acts like a double-edged sword, with emphasis on the double edge.
This is the first time in my life that I've been provoked to hit a woman.
Misa on his side, Light's plan is simply to get Misa to see the task force and work them all. Light shows Ryuk to Misa, and completely unprovoked, Misa just tells Light how to kill a Shinigami, even though Rem said not to tell anyone. I wonder if that'll be relevant later in the story. Light tells Misa to send in another tape to throw off the investigation. Light also has to explain to Misa that they can't be together at all, but Misa pushes back at this notion. Light threatens to kill her, but Rem steps in and says that she will murk Light if he ever did anything to get Misa killed. Also, there's a question I had while watching this scene. If the Death Note can prematurely take someone's life and Rem can see people's lifespan, why are these two freaking out about Rem possibly dying as well? If Rem sees that Misa is supposed to die in like 30 years, then preventing an earlier death should be fine in theory, right? It could be a translation error from a previous episode, but I'm pretty sure preventing any type of death is fatal for a Shinigami. Anyways, Light is realizing that Misa doesn't really provide him the direct upgrade that he thought it would. Yada yada yada. L sees the second Kira's video and he sees right through it. This one was pretty free, to be honest. This video is like a complete 180 from the previous ones that the second Kira sent in. After this, Light goes home and stumbles into Misa again. Light takes the opportunity to make a deal with Rem and asks Rem to kill L, and she agrees. Just like that, L is dead, everyone. Wow, turns out having gods of death on your side makes your life easier. Wow, who could have thought? Just need to set up a communication line with Misa and give her to go to the Merc L. This episode is pretty important for the rest of the series, as both L and Light make their big moves. Also, by this point, Light is no longer a suspect for L. He is Kira in the eyes of L. L sneaks up on Light, which seemingly backfires for L because Misa arrives out of nowhere. Light just needs to call Misa about L's name, and it's call Misa about L's name, which seemingly backfires for L, suspect for L, as both
Yeah.
L and Light make their big moves. Also,
I
at this
forgot
point,
that
Light is no
that
longer a suspect for L. He is Kira in the eyes of L. L sneaks up on Light, which seemingly backfires for L because Misa arrives out of nowhere. Light just needs to call Misa about L's name, and it's...
I thought you were actually watching Death Note, but nah, just the hood breakdown. I've already seen Death Note years ago and shit. What's it called? It's Olama-sama video, the most fraudulent characters in anime. He's basically talking about how Light and L are overrated, and I'm basically like seeing why he thinks that and shit. I kind of see some of his points. Like overrated in terms of intelligence. Like people be overhyping how smart he is and shit. But nah, yeah, I already watched Death Note though. This is like one of the first anime I watched.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
I thought L was just being a freak when he went to touch Misa, but he was actually stealing her phones because he already knew she was the second Kira. And they also took this opportunity to arrest Misa on the suspicion of being the second Kira. The sneak attack from L was a major blow to Light, but it isn't some 5D chess move. If L's theory about Light being Kira was correct, he was under the assumption he met the second Kira. So naturally, he'd expect a move soon considering the second Kira can kill without a name. From this point, Misa is interrogated until she is forced to relinquish ownership of the Death Note, getting rid of all of her memories of the notebook. Rem presses Light and tells him he has to save Misa or else she will kill him. Now Light is forced to lock in and create a plan that he knows will save Misa. Since her memories are now lost, Misa starts acting extremely different in the interrogation, completely throwing off the investigation team. Light also decides to turn himself in to attempt to rid himself of the Kira allegations. This is all a part of Light's super duper grand plan. He buries one of the notebooks and gives the other one to Rem. Light tells Ryuk about the cue he'll give when he wants to relinquish ownership of the Death Note as well. He also does something else here that's really important, but it'll show up later in the series. The murders actually stop when Light is in jail, so it seems like Light is Kira. Light relinquishes ownership of the Death Note and, like Misa, begins to act very differently. Sometime afterwards, Kira starts killing criminals again, which should clear Light's name. Now, something that I haven't mentioned so far is that L has been able to see whether Light is being genuine or not. But now that Light actually has no memories of the Death Note, L's thought process gets mixed up. People start contradicting themselves and L can't anticipate the next move. Good idea by Light, but he's still carried. Not much happens in episode 17. It starts off with a different Death Note user that we can't see, and this Death Note user seems to be a part of Light's plan. Like Light before him, he seems to be writing the names of criminals as well. Light's dad also had to put up an Oscar level performance to
where was he?
Light and Misa of being Kira, which, let's be real, that can't happen. It also doesn't help that when L questions Misa, she basically soft confirms that she is the second Kira. The task force moves to a new building, and due to his lasting suspicions, both Light and L are chained together. Also, one of these guys is the new temporary Kira. L starts off episode 18 sad about the Kira case. He knows that Light and Misa are Kira, but he can't get any hard evidence to prove what exactly happened. I also think now is a good time to ask, how long would it take y'all to believe that something supernatural is happening? Like we see,
like that's something super, bro. Yeah, like if someone, bro, things from the jump, supernatural shit is happening. If people can kill other people from far away, already supernatural stuff is happening. So I'm thinking, okay, yeah, like something happened where they lost their memories or some shit. Like something happened, and that's why they're acting differently. Like I'm thinking of that. I'm not just saying that because I watched the show.
Multiple
I'm
instances
definitely
of
thinking
things
that
should not be happening and just shrugging it off like it's just a win. We know that Kira can cause sudden heart attacks in people, and we've heard of Shinigamis. When will we accept that the supernatural does exist? Moving on, we see that Kira is somehow linked to the Yotsuba group due to how all the recent deaths helped the company. Someone at this meeting is Kira, and my money's on this guy. Also, Aizawa leaves, but I don't even think I introduced him, so we do not care. The next episode is a Matsuda focus episode. To keep it short and sweet, Matsuda almost gets himself caught and killed to learn that the Yotsuba group has ties to Kira. So he risked his own life to learn that the sky was blue. Nice. The task force bails him out, and throughout the episode, we see Light really contemplating on whether he could be Kira.
I'm punishing evildoers and criminals if I get killed by just seeing a blue face. No, I'm thinking too hard about this. There's no way anyone could murder so many people without having memory.
The Yotsuba group meeting room gets bugged.
That's literally you, like
apparently they slimed one of their mans for speaking out against Kira, and they just continue on with the meeting like nothing happened. If y'all learn anything from me, never trust a businessman. They make plans to murk someone else, and L suggests waiting to see if the planned deaths actually happen, which is kind of crazy to do. Light uses the probability of one of them being Kira to his advantage to strike a deal with Namikawa of the Yotsuba group, and that's actually really smart. Good job, Light. But this also means that I lost my life saving. I'd be foolish not to mention this. Over the last couple of episodes, there's been been a bit of an underlying pattern of L mentioning the potential of his own death. Surprise tool for later. After striking the deal, Light calls out L and presses him about why he still believes Light is Kira. He goes into extremely specific detail about what L is thinking, which I'd normally say is someone script reading, but this is just happening so we know what's going on. Afterwards, L suggests conducting solo investigations, but then twists Light's arm into joining him and Misa on his investigation. L's plan is kind of elaborate, but
Okay, so like overall, he's saying like, you know, sometimes it's just like script reading, because at the end of the day, your characters can only get as smart as the writer. So he's like, okay, like at some point it's basically like script reading, and then at some point it's like other things help out and all that shit, or some things it's like, okay, the story is written that way. So like the FBI agent thing, if the like deadass in the bus, if the FBI agent did not give him his identification, that plan would not have worked and shit. So I kind of get what he's saying, but we can't downplay their intelligence, bro. Light and L are still smart. I still think Lelouch from Code Geass is smarter, but Light and L are still smart, bro.
But it's pretty easy to follow. I forgot to mention that in one of the earlier episodes, the Yotuba group hired the second best detective in the world, Araldo Coyle, to find out.
I wouldn't say they most
fraudulent
Araldo
Coyle. It's pretty smart to make multiple fake identities because other people will always try to find out who L really is. L's plan is to use a con man under the Araldo Coyle identity.
I mean, obviously the title and the thumbnail is to grab your attention. He also, Alama Sama definitely doesn't think they're the most fraudulent characters in anime, obviously, and shit.
To get the Yotuba group in contact with Misa Amane and use her as a spokesperson for the company. Oh, by the way, a man named Higuchi is the new Kira, and I find it really interesting that he was able to figure out the way Misa was able to escape the investigation because he has ownership of the Death Note. My point being that not knowing about the Death Note and its abilities make the case so much harder and practically impossible. Light's margin for error is bigger than it may initially seem. The Yotuba group interview Misa and everything is going to plan, but then Rem comes into contact with Misa and tells Misa about everything that happened before. With this new knowledge, Misa decides to hatch a plan to get Higuchi to confess to being the new Kira. She tricks Higuchi into thinking she is the second Kira, which she is, but isn't at the same time. You get the point.
Yeah,
by using Rem to actually murk someone. And just like that, she gets a confession from Higuchi. And may I say, this plan low-key felt like it was on par with a lot of the other skins we see Light and L come up with. Almost like any regular person can come up with half the stuff we see. Oh my god. Although the confession is great, L and Light still want to know how Kira actually performs his murders. L tells Light about his theory of Kira's powers being able to be transferred to other people, and it's basically spot on. The theory feels like it's the only thing he can conclude from the information he got. So again, he's following a fairly straightforward train of logic. L's plan to find out how Higuchi kills involves using Matsuda and Sakura TV to reveal his identity. Then they'll get Namikawa to tell Higuchi to watch Sakura TV, and Higuchi will go out and try to murk Matsuda. And everything seems to be going to plan because Higuchi is panicking crazy. Higuchi heads out to find Matsuda's file so he can pack him up. It's probably important to mention that the police bug Higuchi's car so Light and L can hear what he's saying. And since they can't see Rem, they're constantly wondering who he's talking to. So I ask again, how long is it just the wind?
Right now, it could be a Shinigami.
Oh, my bad. Also, in the car right there, Higuchi straight up mentioned a notebook twice and referred to it as evidence. Should the series not be over by now? That's all the evidence you need to start making conclusions. Higuchi tries to murder Matsuda by writing his name in Death Note, and it fails. Light and L are confused, and I'm honestly shocked that they didn't start theory crafting. After freaking out about needing his name, he finds his name and writes it in a notebook. Higuchi knows his face, and after some time, he expects Matsuda to die. I already know how the Death Note works, but I thought for L and Light that there would be some gears turning in their head already. Oh yeah, Matsuda's probably gonna die. Yeah, Higuchi made the deal for the Shinigami eyes, and I don't really expect them to know what's going on here because that is way beyond their knowledge. Higuchi pulls up to Sakura TV and he gets ambushed by the police. I don't want to bore you guys with the high-speed car chases and shootouts. That's boring. We can just fast forward to when Higuchi gets caught.
Meanwhile, that's like the most interesting part.
Everyone in the task force is able to touch the notebook. L and Light can now see Rem, and L immediately knows that there has to be two notebooks. Light regains his memories and packs up Higuchi so he can become the owner of the Death Note again. Later in the episode, we get a flashback to when Light gave Rem the notebook. We see that he made an actual good play when he switched out which Shinigamis would be attached to which notebook. This would ultimately allow Light to carry out his best plan. The other thing he did was have Ryuka write fake rules in the notebook, which also helped out in the plan. The rule would imply that Light could not be Kira. Again, I'm low-key shocked that L didn't immediately question the rules in the back, but he was probably shell-shocked by the entire ordeal. Also, Misa goes to find her notebook in the forest, but oh no, she doesn't have the Shinigami eyes anymore and doesn't remember L's name. Let's just take off another half of her lifespan.
Another other
Lights
half of
will reunion,
Light's
and Light
plan.
can complete his super duper grand plan. In the last episode, Light makes Misa start packing up criminals again. This basically forces Rem into a position where she has to kill El in order to lengthen Misa's life. Ever since Light touched the notebook, El could tell that something was up and he knew what his fate would inevitably be. El just didn't want to believe that Light was Kira even though he knew that he was Kira. Finally acting more like himself, El decides to test the 13-day rule, and as a result, Rem kills both Watari and El, with El dying in Light's hands. Oh yeah, I don't think I ever mentioned Watari, but Watari is El's assistant. With no one in Light's way, Death Note ends with Light becoming a so-called god of the new world.
We are a new organization.
Yeah,
known as
no.
SPK or Special Provision for
Nope.
Oh, brother. So as we can see, there weren't
They
that
coulda
many
just ended
crazy
it right there. They
intelligence
coulda
feats.
ended
So when
it
you
right
hear
there.
people talk about these two, you think that there's some 12th level intellect beings in this series. L can only deduce things that the author can figure out. If L was figuring out things that the author couldn't make sense of, then L would just be script reading and ruining the story. A similar line of thinking applies to Light. For the story to be as good and coherent as it is, both the audience and the author himself have to be able to follow it. Light's plans were fairly simple but effective due to the forces on his side, and that is completely fine. But let's keep it a buck. These two should not be in the smartest anime character discussions at all. Like putting Light next to someone like Bulma or Senku is basically the polar bear and Arlington meme. And plus, only talking about these two characters' intelligence is a bit of an oversimplification. Both L and Light had other notable character traits, and one can argue that these traits were more helpful than their raw intellect. Light needed to hold a mean poker face in almost every episode.
No, yeah, no. Light has the best poker face of all of anime for sure, bro. That shit is crazy.
And L always had a good question to try and catch someone slipping.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, these two are frauds. Lelouch clears. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Hey, he brought up Lelouch at the end. I'm telling y'all, bro. Lelouch is smarter than Light and L, bro. For sure, 100%, bro. Shout out Olama Sama and shit for the W video. Alright, chat. That's pretty much it, though. Best your mind, best your body, best your soul. Peace out. For the YouTube video.